Hello, and welcome to MoviePod, a weekly cinema podcast. I'm your host, Brian Wishart. This week we're talking about a movie that actually was pretty well clean when it came out. It was up for Oscars, but pretty quickly after its release, it got a lot of negative feedback over the accuracy of the film and the subject. And as time has gone on, people are not really big fans of the Iraq War. And people who brag about how many people they killed that they didn't actually kill and lie about those numbers. We're talking about Clint Eastwood's American Sniper this week. I'm joined by Jacob from Workers Lit. How's it going, Jacob?
Brian, how dare you malign the man who killed the very real Butcher? That was a real guy, for sure. There was definitely a guy called the Butcher. We should all be scared of him. Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm from Workers Lit. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to American Snipe with you or whatever.
I'm excited to take aim at this movie and shoot it in the fucking head.
And if you're mad that you have to listen to American Sniper, that's my fault. This was my suggestion. This is the horror I have inflicted.
You reached out to me and it's like, hey, can we do like a movie that is reclaimed by the haters? I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to find a good movie for it. And then you pitched American Sniper. And this was like a few weeks ago. We talked and...
Oh, God. Yeah, the timing couldn't have been worse / better.
Things have been worse because... this movie is about a quote-unquote hero in the American Forever War, the Iraq War. And now there's more war in the Middle East going on. And,
like, even just more dog shit movies that are going to be forced to get nominated probably about it.
Yeah, and, like, that's what we were talking about in DMs a little bit, how, like, there's been so many movies about wars in the Middle East, like, glorifying, like, the soldiers, the Western soldiers, American soldiers, and how sad they are that they're out there killing people. And I think it's a fascinating topic because, like, if you look at how many great World War II movies there are, how many great Vietnam movies there are, and there just are not that many great, I would say, movies about these Middle East wars. The War on Terror, War in Iraq, War in Afghanistan, it all blends together under the same umbrella. I'm Canadian, so my country's had different involvement than the Americans have had, where the Americans tend to be the ones that kind of, love to express their American imperialism abroad.
Honestly, I think the only one that I really like War on Terror movie is probably the Hurt Locker.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But and it's not just a matter of politics, right? Like there are movies with horrible politics that I like. It's not just that this movie is a racist imperialist piece of shit, which it is, but also just, the competencies, the way you sell a piece of propaganda. You know what I mean? It's not just, and this is so, this movie assumes that you have completely bought into the narrative, hook, line, and sinker, that it does not feel the need to sell you on a single thing. It is assuming that you are every bit as much as a foaming at the mouth, rabid reactionary as Clint Eastwood for you to enjoy it at all, which is what makes it not particularly effective propaganda, in my opinion, but I guess it was hitting in 2014. I don't know.
Like, this movie has a scene where Chris Kyle, is watched season 9/11 happen in the news, and then we cut to the war in Iraq. Right. And that's quite the leap because they were not really involved with the terrorist attacks 9/11. But at the same time, that was the narrative of the time. That's how the Bush administration was to sell people into fighting in Iraq and fighting in the Middle East, is that we are against all forms of aggression. We're against, and Iraq has WMDs. We're going to track them down and get them. And it is very reactionary, but this interesting because this is a later movie when it comes to all these Middle East wars. And
people hated him at this point. This was not the first year where you had something like majority approval for the war, or at least majority being able to sit with it. This was, Obama had already been elected on criticism of the war. He didn't really live up to it, but he did get elected, that being a major part of his platform, like a big refutation of Bushism in 2008, this absolute landslide election. So this movie comes out really late in a way, to be honest.
And his wife, during some talk with some soldiers and stuff, praised this movie.
Oh yeah.
And it was not just,
which is crazy because she comes off horribly in it.
Yeah. No, sorry, Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama. I'm sorry, I thought you meant the wife of Chris Kyle.
Oh, she also looks awful in this movie too because she's.
Well, yeah, Michelle Obama's not in the movie at all.
Yeah, that'd be
a crazy cameo.
if you know, like it was optioned based on the book American Sniper, written by Chris Kyle. So Chris Kyle, who we're going to talk about, the titular American Sniper, he is considered the most lethal sniper in American history. He kills something like 160 people confirmed. He likes to embellish it, saying he killed like somewhere north of 300. So
it's such a crazy thing. It's like, you're the most deadly sniper in American history. Why do you feel the need to lie? It really is like a thing in these operator guys. It's the same reason there's 3 different guys who have careers claiming they're the person who shot Osama bin Laden.
And I was reading that apparently with like Chris Kyle was hesitant to write this book or like get someone to ghostwrite the book for him. But there was going to be a lot of books coming out from the perspective of Navy SEALs. So he kind of wanted to get onto that because a lot of people were doing it. And that was around the time there was all these people that claimed that they killed Osama bin Laden.
Yes. And I mean, a lot of these guys have podcasts now. There's a big operator sphere, podcast sphere. It's like this. It's very strange. It's very big. If you watch even one of the videos, it will be in your YouTube recommended forever.
Oh, God.
They're all feuding with each other. They all hate each other. There's so much drama. It's a fascinating... I've considered actually doing an episode on our show, on the politics side of our show, about it before, but it's so like intertwined that it's hard to talk about. But Chris Kyle would absolutely be one of these guys if he was still around today. Like, he had this idea of like, this was going to, 1, make him money, whatever. And 2, like, this was going to bring him even further prominence. This is a guy who liked eyes on him. The movie would not make you think that. But he loved being called the legend. He loved being hyped up. This is a Navy SEAL. That's what these guys are like, you know? Yeah. That's an intentional pursuit of the U.S. Navy SEALs, is to get these big personalities to be operators. That's not like a Jacob Lefty hot take. That is like the explicit position of the U.S. military.
But wasn't a thing with like Navy SEALs though, like the Bin Laden raid, for example, where like it's supposed to be secret who did it. Like, they spent so long, like, we're not going to tell anyone who did it because it's like a team effort. We're trying to hide these our own identities and stuff, and kind of get this mystique, this mysticism around how powerful is unit. And it just seems, maybe it's my perspective, like, you are going to be more informed with this topic than I am, I think. Like, isn't there, it's kind of strange that, in my perspective, that, like, all these guys are willing to be out in public and say, like, hey, yeah, I was one that did this, I was one that did that. Like, they're the ones that like are bragging about, which I feel like there was an honor code that said they would not do that.
They're not supposed to, but the thing with the Navy SEALs is they're so hyped up, like, in American culture and in the military as the toughest of the toughest is the toughest. And the guys who get into the SEALs, if they make it in, they have like a lot of military rules they don't actually have to follow. They have a lot of individual leeway. They have a lot of freedoms. I mean, even now, like, Hegseth passed this, like, new rule that everyone has to shave, including people with skin conditions, that if they shave, they're, like, going to break out. It's actually a very racist rule. But the SEALs don't have to follow that rule still. Yeah. Things like that. They get a very special place in the military. They very often are going to be the guys you see with the Crusader tattoos. They're put out. They kind of pick this kind of guy that is an obsessive, like, fanatic and often very self-obsessed, has this vision of this warrior ethos or whatever. And so that type of guy often is also going to be the type of guy who lies a lot, who embellishes a lot, who yaps a lot. And then, once he's out of the military, like, you expect him to just, like, go get a job as an insurance salesman? Like, no, he's going to do this shit. He's going to go and tell everyone he killed bin Laden. Did he? I don't know. One of them probably did. But that's kind of like the thing it comes out of. And I think that, like, it's not been until the last few years that people have really seen, with, like, books like the Fort Bragg Cartel and, like, just the exposure of, like, SEAL culture through these horrible podcasts they've made, just how, like, petty and honestly just peaked in high school energy most of these guys actually have. Impressive as they are. I mean, Chris Kyle could kill me, don't get me wrong, but he's still a loser. Like, that was, like, in the movie is desperately trying to keep you from seeing that. But if you read the book, which I have, it bleeds through like crazy. Oh yeah, I'm insane.
So, did you read the book for this podcast, or you already read it before?
Years ago.
Okay.
But even then, I had not, like, I was not come to sort of left politics yet. I was raised very conservative, and I read the book, and I was like, this guy seems like dudes I know in high school who are constantly bragging about how good they are at football. Like, that's the energy the guy has. To me, as, like, a teenager, I was, like, smelling loser off of this guy. And it's what's so fascinating is because he's not a loser at his field. He's incredibly competent, and yet the, like, I don't know, there's just this deep this deep angst and need, to the point that in the book he's making up stories about guys he's killed in the United States.
Yeah.
That, if true, he should be in prison for. Well, not now. But probably aren't. Like, he was like, I climbed on top of the Superdome in New Orleans and sniped 30 people with guns during Hurricane Katrina. It's
American
like, what are you
citizens.
talking?
Like, insane. Like, that is like this movie tries to present Chris Kyle as a guy who, he does the Oscar Schindler thing. I could have saved more if I sold this watch, but I could have saved more if I killed more brown people.
Yes.
And it is so twisted and evil, but like learning about the real guy and like, so like it sounds like you came to this movie having read the book already, or did you see the movie first?
I honestly can't remember, but was within a year of each other the first time. It would have, but the book came out in like 2012, 2013. So because it came like 2012, I think, and then like was optioned for a movie in 2013. Steven Spielberg was going to direct it. And they're going to get Chris Pratt. It would have probably been a better movie.
I think I'd be fascinated with Spielberg's angle is because I don't think Spielberg would have done the whole like gung-ho jingoistic angle of this.
It probably would have been a more effective propaganda film, honestly.
Yeah. Because even something like Munich, which has its issues, like that one has like, because considers Spielberg's sentimentality for movies, like Munich is kind of does not have that at all, and it covers a very, very tricky subject, but it seems nuanced. He's a bit more effective a director. Spielberg also would have done another take with that plastic baby. He would not have had that. And this movie looks okay at parts, and I think Clint Eastwood's I like Clint Eastwood as a director. I think Clint Eastwood's a great filmmaker. It's just not here with this. And I've seen Clint Eastwood do better war movies, like Clint Eastwood believes that American Sniper is an anti-war movie simply because it does show. He says like it shows the PTSD of the home life. It shows the struggle there, and from his perspective, we're talking about a guy who was a teenager, grew up like during World War II. Clint Eastwood's ancient, so like maybe from that perspective, it is anti-war. But like in the 2000s, he made Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, which cover the same conflict, one from the American angle, one from the Japanese angle, and they're both like very, clearly one-sided movies. But I think the fact that he made both of the movies, and Letters from Iwo Jima is the far superior movie because he does has a bit more nuance to it. So I think he is capable of making an anti-war movie that kind of looks at the struggle there. I think the biggest problem with American Sniper is that it simplifies absolutely everything and fits into such an easy mode. Like the fact that there's a villain in this movie is absolutely insane. Like
kind of two villains.
Yeah, like there's the villain and there's the henchman, pretty much.
The really hot sniper henchman. It is insane how hot they make the rival sniper. We'll get to it, but I was like, what the fuck? Like, I took a picture of him and sent to my friends. I was like, how is he doing such a perfect beard, like close cropped beard during the Battle of Fallujah? Yeah. Like, and he has like his own theme music, which is like a warbled version of the Muslim call to prayer. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And what's fascinating with the music for this movie is that like for like the past and since Mystic River, Clint Eastwood scored all of his movies, but this movie does not have someone credited with the score for it. So like I don't know who was who did. I think it was you got different people to do this. I don't think Clint Eastwood was doing that Muslim call to prayer music there.
God, I would love to hear him try to. I think a thing with Clint Eastwood as a director is he's a very economical director. He is somebody who I've heard most of his sets. It's like 1, 2, 3 takes maybe. Like get on, make it move. Yeah, that's why he can make so many movies. He is competent. A lot of his films do look like they're shot inside a coffin, but like they work as films. What I've found, though, on a character level, films of his that I enjoy are typically, he's always trying to show you the story of someone who's kind of an underdog, who's succeeding in The $1 Million Baby, or, like a
been
like
railroaded
the Richard
by
Jewell.
a system somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
The Richard Jewell movie, I think, is quite good as a result of that. And when you do that with someone who is supposed to also be the coolest guy to ever live, like the most badass, you can really not speak no ill of him. Like this, or like, let's be honest, like Cry Macho or a movie like that, it's not gonna hit the same way.
But also the thing when this project started, Chris Kyle was alive. He had not been killed yet. He had not been murdered yet. So what was the perspective of this movie? It was just like, here's a guy who's trying to rack up the biggest kill count possible, which is not an engaging story whatsoever. It's an evil story. It's a guy who
it's an engaging story if he's a psycho and that's the story of it. But like if you're supposed to love him and also he's doing that, it's real. And you know, maybe hard to imagine making it work.
Yeah, because could you imagine like the version of the story that actually like structurally this is a very like tame move. It's a very basic movie way it's structured. But could you imagine between like tours 2 and 3 in Iraq, we cut to New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina, and he's sniping American citizens at the Superdome? Like, yeah, like that's what happened. That's what he claims happened in his story. It did not happen. He claims it because he is such bloodthirst that he wants people to think that he killed more people than he did.
Yep. And also, but the thing is, a lot of things in this movie didn't happen. So if they wanted to lean into the, hey, this is just based on Chris Kyle's autobiography, they should have done that too. They should have been like, also, he drove into, like, how insane would that have been? But that would have been true to the experience of reading the autobiography. I also want to say, having read the autobiography, the feeling bad element is way less in the book than it is.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
He does not give a shit in the book. He acknowledges that he has like the shakes, that he feels that he like sees his friends who died, like his flashes of that, which I'm sure he does. He did, you know, even if he is cold-blooded killer, he saw people die in front of him. You know, that does something to you. But the book isn't like, oh, I went to the bar and I was staring and I couldn't hang out with my kids. Like it is mostly just like, I am the coolest operator who's ever lived. Let me tell you about all my amazing kills and how much of a coward my squad mates are, to the point that he's gotten sued for he got sued for libel for this book by
Jesse Ventura.
By Ventura, yes.
Governor Jesse Ventura.
Successfully so. One of two men, I've heard it said, there are 2 men to ever get a W on Chris Kyle. Ventura was one of them, and the second one's at the end of this film.
Yeah, and like, perspective when the movie came out. So like, we're talking 2014. The movie comes out. Chris Kyle has been dead for a year. There's been a whole like easy. You can see the publicity of the movie. Here's a movie about an American hero, quote unquote. I'm gonna like if I actually say something where as American hero, it's gonna be quote unquote. I do not approve of American Chris Kyle whatsoever. I'm shitting this guy nonstop. Fuck this guy. So sorry if I forget a quote unquote somewhere. But
you're fine.
Yeah, just it's like so like his wife is on the press circuit too. The murder trials happens just a couple months after this movie comes out during the Oscar Awards season.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people start writing articles about how bullshit the Chris Kyle story is, and how bullshit this movie is, and how much it exploits various negative stereotypes about Muslims, Middle Eastern people, and the war in general, and how like it's a very simplified story. And like this movie made $500 million. It was I think it's the highest until one of the Deadpool movies came out. It was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. It beat Passion of the Christ.
It's got to be Clint Eastwood's highest grossing movie, right?
It is 100%. Yep, it is. Yeah. Because Clint Eastwood doesn't really he does not really make that big budget of movies. He very economical filmmaker.
He consistently can turn $20 million into $75 million. He's like one of the best at that.
And when I saw this movie, I was in university, just coming out of university. But I remember talking to a lot of my peers, and like I knew a fair amount of conservative people in school, and like they loved this movie so much. They thought like this was like, it's good to have a war movie from a good conservative perspective. And like in my mind, like there's already been conservative war movies. Like there's been even something like let's bring back to The Hurt Locker, because The Hurt Locker I think is a fantastic movie. And that movie kind of does like what they say Chris Kyle is, a movie where he's kind of addicted to going back to the war. He's so obsessed, like he cannot deal with his home life at all. He has to keep going back to the battlefield, where that's where he believes he is useful. That's what The Hurt Locker does so well, and it actually does it very effectively, where it's like this guy is kind of like his friends, his peers are kind of losing their minds, and he is just so dialed into the adrenaline and going back to the war. But at least Catherine Bigelow as a director, she's always been fascinated with masculinity, and that movie I think is pretty critical of masculinity, what the guy's doing. And even like with Zero Dark 30, where that's a movie that got a lot of flack for being from people. Like I remember when that movie came out, like a lot of people were, so like, Zero Dark 30 is 2012, so a couple years before this movie, and a lot of people didn't refuse to watch it because like it's pro-torture, when I think the movie kind of has a pretty anti-torture stance, because once they stop doing the torturing is when they actually like get things figured out. And like the whole ending sequence of that movie where it comes to like, I don't think American Sniper happens if the final act of 0 Dark 30 was not so effective. Yeah. Even to the point where Chris Pratt was going to play Chris Kyle to begin with. And Chris Pratt like got bulked up for the end of 0 Dark 30.
I mean, you also have a year before this, Lone Survivor comes out, right? Very similar movie.
Which I think is a movie that like is very entertaining. I think it does the tension a lot better. I don't know how historically accurate it is. I don't think it's accurate whatsoever. But I think Peter Berg is a competent enough director that he... and you get the idea that Mark Wahlberg, whoever he's playing in real life, all his squad mates die over time. And it matters. You can kind of get like, oh shit, like this is something that actually like is affecting the soldiers. In this movie, like you see a couple soldiers get wounded here and there, but like there's only one character that dies that on Chris's side that he's sad about. And I think that's a pretty big problem because, like, you actually.
In fact, there's another guy who dies that he's not sad about. He's like, you know, he's like he got soft. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we'll get into that later. So there's an insane story behind that. But yeah. So I saw the movie, of course, in the theaters, and like, I was frustrated by it because like I thought, you know, I was, you know, not conservative at the time. But, like I was like more close to the center with my politics back then, and I still thought like this is like a really, really bad attempt at an anti-war movie, like a really clumsy attempt at making an anti-war movie.
Yeah, I saw it. You know, I was at the time in high school. I get a lot of conservatives around me. It was a private Christian school in Middle Tennessee, so you know, and people loved it. Of course, like you said, it was, you know, it could do no wrong. It was perfect. It was amazing. All criticism of it was disrespectful to Chris Kyle because he had died, so you can't criticize him. The original Charlie Kirk. And the
anti-American Sniper was Charlie Kirk.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Chris Kyle came back for one last job. And the thing is, then it didn't win the Oscar, and people were incensed around me. The amount of anger people had. And I saw it at the time. And I remember thinking it was fine. I was a kid, and I was just kind of like, yeah, that was like, oh, that sure was a movie. I remember. Like, I was not on board with that. I saw Lone Survivor around the same time and loved it. I really liked Lone Survivor when I was that age. I thought American Sniper was fine. And I hadn't seen it since then, but I had like thought about it. And I read the book around then, and I remember thinking the book was kind of cool, but also I had weird vibes from the guy, like I had already said. But people were so mad that it didn't win the Oscar. Yeah. And I'm shocked that it got nominated for the Oscar. Like it's not, aside for Best Picture, certainly. It's got core competencies, which we'll talk about. But like anyway, that was kind of my experience around it. It was like a very big cultural moment, I guess. It was a big like finally Hollywood speaking up for us, as if there hadn't been like 30 conservative war movies that had come out over the last 10 years.
And like I remember the Oscar campaign for that movie pretty well, where like Birdman wins Best Picture that year, but like this
it's such a funny movie to win over American Sniper.
I know. And I'm in the perspective that like, so that year it's like Birdman, American Sniper, Boyhood, which is like one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
Grand Budapest Hotel, Whiplash. Like I remember the big thing with that year was like, there's only a few years after the Oscars expanded to like 10 Best Picture nominees, and the idea like they're trying to expand themselves so they can actually get movies that make money at the box office. This movie made so much money. This was the box office success story of the Best Picture one. This is the movie that people actually saw that year, which is like fascinating because like it is like it's such a basic movie. It's pretty generic. Like it comes the same year as like Imitation Game and Theory of Everything, which are very basic biopics as well. But this one people actually saw in the theater, and people like to crowd around a movie they actually have seen and heard of, because especially at this point in time, people thought like the Oscars were out of touch because I remember with Hurt Locker in 2009, that was a movie that it made the least amount of money of any movie to win Best Picture. So people were really looking at Best Picture for like, can we expand this to be a category for movies that people have actually seen? And there was like King's Speech, The Artist. No one saw The Artist. Argo, which another movie about the Middle East. And then the year before this was 12 Years a Slave.
Oh yeah.
And then we get this year with American Sniper in the mix.
Can you imagine if American Sniper had won in 2014 over so many really good movies?
I know, right? I don't even like Birdman, and I think
Birdman's an interesting one. I need to revisit that one. I remember not being sure how I felt about it.
I just like the director, yeah.
But over Boyhood, Whiplash, that it was even in the presence of those movies is embarrassing.
Yeah, but I remember the Oscar campaign so much because I knew a lot of people who were really rooting for American Sniper because it was the movie that they actually saw. And then
it's like the people that a couple years ago were talking about Barbie needs to win Best Picture, and it's that was the only Best Picture nominee you saw this year. Yeah,
they even see Oppenheimer. It was right beside it.
Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, "Whoa, he didn't win Best Actor," and I'm like, "Did you see the other people's performances? If not, you can't get that mad about it."
That's why I'm an insane person who watches every single Oscar nominee, every single one. So
I sure do try, and I sure do fail.
By the time this episode comes out, I've seen every single nominee, every single category down to the shorts, and the shorts suck ass. The shorts are bad this year. Do not watch them. But yeah, people really like to gravitate around the specific movies that they have seen. But after this, there was the immediate backlash of people talking about how the story is fabricated, the story is not authentic at all. It's a very, very basic biopic, and it follows a simple structure, plus a very simplistic view on the war that I think that the public... It's funny, I feel like this is the last time people really got hoodwinked by how simple this war is from the government perspective. I don't think they made too many movies after this that the public really gravitated around, be like, hey, this is the narrative that we're following, and having being lockstep with what the American government's saying.
I think the best example I can think of a movie that had popular acclaim since then that is Top Gun Maverick. Mm-hmm. And they had to make up sort of a fictional war. I mean, it was a war with Iran, but it was a fictionalized, theoretical war with Iran in that movie. And it was Tom Cruise. They had to pull out all the stops for it. Yeah. Also, that movie kind of kicks ass. Yeah, it kind of rules. But it's so much fun to watch in a way that this movie isn't.
Yes.
I know I'm not trying to hop ahead, but this is a movie where you can't see the climax.
No.
You physically...
Yeah.
I'll calm down, but come on.
Yeah. So let's start getting to the movie itself. Yeah. And so I watched this movie on standard definition DVD, and I sent the link to you. I posted it on the MoviePod Blue Sky as well. The first ad for the movie is for something called Splode Soda. And it's a bunch of guys, they're it's a clean ad from the 2000s. They're doing some bungee jumping off a bridge, and that you gotta have your Splode Soda. It's so carbonated. And then they explode doing it. And it's actually an anti-tobacco. And it's only 1/3 of users die from using this product as directed. It's tobacco. And I was cackling with laughter already. And
it's so sad that Chris Kyle died of Splodes.
That'd be such a better ending to this movie.
If they edit Chris Kyle's face over it, he's like, "I'll be fine."
Honey, don't forget your Splode Soda at the shooting range today. And there's also an ad for San Andreas, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie with the earthquake.
Yeah, so good.
And then an ad for Mad Max Fury Road. That was a great summer. Oh, that was good for Warner Brothers. And then you get to the menu music, and it's very sad piano music with a heroic image of Bradley Cooper playing Chris Kyle. And Bradley Cooper was someone, because he was an executive producer, he was the one that kind of spearheaded this movie. And the studio, Bradley Cooper wanted Chris Pratt to play the role, but the studio's no, Bradley Cooper, we want you to do it. And good for his career, because he ended up doing I like Bradley Cooper a lot as a actor and as a director. So this one kind of got him some critical recognition in a way. I don't think he's very good in this movie. He has one great scene, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's just I
think he's fine. It's a pretty standard performance for a pretty flat role. I mean, you can only be in a movie where the subject, it really is almost not allowed to criticize the subject whatsoever, and you're supposed to be the subject. And mostly all you have to do is stare and pull a trigger and be "Booyah, another one for America." Then it's not. There's only so much you can do. I also think the Jacob's hotness scale. This is the worst Bradley Cooper has ever looked in a major movie, I think.
Yeah.
Like, catch Bradley Cooper. I'm telling you, I know he looks bad by the end of Nightmare Alley, but I'll still take him in that movie over this one.
I'd rather hook up with Rocket Raccoon than
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, well on the record for that one. Bradley Cooper's a handsome man, but he goes full reflective sunglasses in this one. He looks the part. He in this movie, I have seen his profile picture responding to me on Facebook or wherever. And I'll say that. Car selfie wearing the sunglasses looking like a thumb.
And both, they show at the end of the movie, like they do all these movies, like the real life photos of like the subjects there. And Bradley Cooper does look like Chris Kyle, and Sienna Miller does look like Taya Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
It is accurate casting for how they look, but they're not, the people they're based on are not real characters. The flaw that Bradley Cooper has to play in this movie of him being sad about being at war is something that's not based, it's not from the book, it's not based on reality. It's something they made up for the movie.
Sad about being in war, and there's not a lot of specificity about what he's sad about, right? Like, yeah. He experiences some brutal moments, but there's not a lot of clarity of, like, that's the thing that really... It's just kind of generally like he has the war disease. It's, he has a few moments that you're like, he remembers, there's a thing with the drill that freaks him out. There's a thing, like, there's bullets flying. He sees people shot. But there's not like here was the act that really messed him up, or here was the failure. It's just kind of like, yeah, he, like, took too much psychic damage. Like, And
the closest they get was this opening scene where it's in Iraq. There are, like, American tanks going through a street, and you see Chris Kyle and a spotter. They're, like, surveilling the street, and they see... a Muslim woman hand over like an explosive shell, like an anti-tank grenade, to a young boy, and like he's all like debating taking the shot or not because it's a small child and everything. And then before we see the action of that, we cut back to a flashback of Chris Kyle as a young kid. He's with his dad hunting a deer, and then they go to church, which like rah rah Americana, and then his dad talks to him at the dinner table how like there are 3 types of people in this world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. And as he's talking about that, like, we cut to Chris's little brother. He's getting his shit kicked out of him at recess, and Chris, like, defends him. And it seems like this metaphor, which they kind of stopped talking about the movie, which I think, like, if this movie would be a bit more successful if they kept the metaphor going. It seems like this movie's trying to present the Americans as the sheep, the terrorists as the wolves, or any brown person as the wolf, and Chris Kyle as the sheepdog who's protecting the flock.
Right.
And it's a muddled metaphor, and I don't really remember it too much because, like, again, like what Chris Kyle claims to have done in real life is like you're not protecting your flock when you're gunning down allegedly people in New Orleans for looting a TV from an IKEA, like a Best Buy. Like,
well, in his book, he's very clear that he was fighting as hard as he could to get his kill count as high as he possibly could, which is the thing I do believe. He lies about his overall number in the book, but I do believe a guy with that high of a kill count, an actual confirmed kill count, was working hard to get his numbers up. And that's not sheepdog behavior. That is wolf behavior. Like, and it's a very, classic masculinity sort of depiction. And also him fighting the bully. That's a very, that's a sort of tropey thing to show this guy's got spunk from a young age type of thing. And, immediately going into him being a rodeo guy. It's a very, like, it is really just wanting you. And if that's not a lie, Chris Kyle was an all-American Texas boy, but, like, it's just very, like,
cowboy. Like,
it's exhausting, though, to watch. I do like that he's like, I'm the coolest rodeo guy of all time, and my girlfriend's cheating on me. That part was pretty funny. I liked that he was getting cucked. That was good.
I love that he gets cucked. He beats the shit out of him with, like, for sleeping with his woman, like, orders it out of the house. And, like, also, like, on the way to, like, him getting cucked there, he's with his brother, who's, like, a very minor character in this movie. And, like, the brother makes an uncouth comment towards women in general. So Chris, like, smacks him while he's driving because, like, he's like, I respect women kind of thing. And like, so, like, it's the funniest thing is when this woman gets kicked out of the house there, his girlfriend. And, like, she says to him flat out, like, I do this to get attention. Don't you get that? And, like, leaves. And then, like, Chris Kyle says to his brother, like, don't say it. And the brother has a really funny line, like, when's the wedding back at them? Which, like, it's a funny line, but at the same time, it's just, like, this feels so stereotypical, generic. This does not feel like a real situation. They feel like caricatures. They're not real people, which they are not. Like, they are fabricated. Because, like, this is such a basic 3-act structure for a movie that his life, it seems like it was just, like, got better and better and better as it went along because he got to raise his kill count, which is his main goal in life. and then it just ends quickly because he gets killed by some guy with PTSD. But it's not like there was.
Yeah.
It's not like there's some like grand struggle in his life. Like he's trying to prove himself to his father, prove himself to his wife. They make all this shit up for this movie, which is fucked up because like literally this guy's goal in life is just to kill as many people as possible. Which is like,
and if he was trying to prove himself, that would be interesting. But then it would be too critical of Chris Kyle almost. Like,
yeah,
Chris Kyle is, as much as Clint Eastwood is anti-war, he's saying in the sense of like, oh, war messes you up. He's not anti-war in the sense that he doesn't think the guys doing war are cool or justified even. I don't think he's making he's not anti-war in the justification sense. He's just anti-war in the, isn't it sad what it does to our beautiful boys type of thing. Which he's not good at showing that either. But like, it would be one thing if it's like we see Chris Kyle. Let's do another version of this movie, right? Chris Kyle, we see him. He's a rough guy. He wants to protect people, and the SEALs turn him into a guy who wants to maximize his kill count. That's a movie right there, right?
Where he's actually tormented by the system, which is the Clint Eastwood thing to do too.
Yeah,
Clint Eastwood would love to do a movie like that, but he doesn't.
Right, but I think part of it is because it's about a real guy, right? I think Clint Eastwood would feel like he could do it, but Clint Eastwood, at the end of the day, is a conservative, is part of that project. I mean, like Clint Eastwood, this was like, 2 years after he performed at the Republican National Convention for Romney and
with
did like the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Just won the election for Obama there. And I think, like, and I think there is an element, and I don't want to say I feel bad for Clint Eastwood, but you are making a biopic about a guy who just died. There is a level of, like, there is probably a level of wanting to clean up his character as much as possible as well. Like, as you're editing and stuff. I know they had shot some of it before he died, before he was, but, yeah.
Like, biopic is a genre that, like, I struggle with a lot because when you turn into a Hollywood movie, you basically put it into a film structure. And if the family is involved in any way, you're not going to get a movie that actually shows the warts of the subject whatsoever. And this movie is so clean when it comes to depicting Chris Kyle as like a noble savior. And it doesn't feel authentic whatsoever. And it's not authentic.
And he has to be cool at every moment. He has to, like, you know, at this part, he sees the, like, embassy bombings that happened in the 90s, right? And he's like, he literally says, look what they did to us.
And he's breathing heavily. He's all upset as they announce the death toll of all the Americans there. Which apparently this embassy bombing was not why he joined the military. He already planned on joining the military before. But the movie tries to keep it simple. Also,
if he did, that'd be hilarious. Like, we had a random embassy bombed. And he's like, I've got to join the SEALs. Yeah. That's also insane. Like, at least, like, you know, I'm not saying it's ever good to join the U.S. military, but at least 9/11, okay. But, like, what, they bombed our embassy in Kenya? Like, grow up. Come on.
But, like, he goes up and joins, like, the Navy and everything. We see, like, the Navy, the recruiter guy is like, you seem like a strapping young man. You should go ahead and do it. Like, you'll be great for it. And then, like, we cut very far ahead to him being the Navy SEAL training. He's getting complete fire hose, like, literal fire hose against him as he's, like sit-ups or something, and like
the gayest scenes in the movie. I love SEAL training. Always just seems like an elaborate, like, BDSM scene. Like, what are you, like, all of it literally, you know, there stuff has been written on, like, the sort of, like, sexualization of the masculine, whatever, proving the masculinity. There is, like, something to that. But it is crazy, especially in this movie, the way they're, like, talking to each other and touching on each other and the spraying and it's all very, like, I don't know. It's very silly.
Yeah. And, like, the instructors are saying, like, pretty racist things towards, like, a black serviceman, which I thought was, like, actually, is this actually kind of a nuanced thing? Because, like, one of the Navy SEAL instructors, or, like, whoever is black themselves. Like, is this movie kind of be a bit more complicated, the stuff there? I'm like, no, it just seems to be the basic hoorah, like, Navy SEAL stuff. Like, we're gonna, like, you know.
Yeah, because the guy gives back as good as he gets, and it's supposed to be like, you know, these boys razzing each other. It's like, no, that's bad. You shouldn't have that.
And we next get to, we meet Chris Kyle's, like, at a bar. He runs into Taya Studebaker, who is played by Sienna Miller. One of his Navy SEAL buddies rejects him because she's observant, and she knows that this guy took off his wedding ring while hitting on her. And they start doing some, like, kind of like meet cute. They start doing some shots for questions where they ask, like, they ask questions, these shots and everything. And he talks about how he just finished sniper school. She says that her sister was engaged to a Navy SEAL, And she says, Navy SEALs, they're all arrogant, self-centered pricks who lie and cheat. And he gets all pissed off. He's like, how can I be self-centered when I want to lay down my life for the country that I love? And she says it's pretty egotistical to think he can protect us all. It was like, okay, that's a good thing to say, but that's all her character is just like, you should be protecting our family, not overseas and stuff. And that's the whole dynamic for the entire movie. There's nothing deeper than that. Like, she's, the way I see Taya Kai in this movie is pretty much, she's just every girlfriend or wife in a boxing movie. It's like, don't get in the ring, go hurt yourself, while looking with like gasp on the sideline, being happy when like they do their major accomplishments. Like, she doesn't seem to be that interested in his kill count, which is something good, but like that doesn't really come up between them. Like, I feel like there should be a scene like, well, all the people like in this movie want to be challenging and be like, you killed all these people and like you should be sad about that. It's mostly just like, you should be back home with the kids and stuff. Like, let other people sacrifice themselves for the country while you raise your family.
It's completely unclear why they like each other.
Other than like they're both attractive,
which could be interesting too, right? That is probably why they actually got together. Having read the book, they got married extremely quickly after meeting each other. This is a very common military thing. Yeah. There are benefits to getting married in the military. That's probably just the actual story, right? And you can tell that story, but it just instead is just kind of like, it's not willing to do that either. It's just willing to be like, they hung out, they had sex, they had banter a couple of times. She nags him. He says, "You're hot, baby." And then there's that. There are a few moments, like, I don't think the actors have decent chemistry. I think they do a decent job with what they're given, but like, they're just not given a lot to work with. Sometimes they're given we're not there yet, but sometimes they're given a plastic baby to work with. But like, you know, occasionally they'll have a scene where they're like on the phone and they're making jokes, and it's like, okay, whatever, there's something here. But the basis of their relationship, there's nothing believable about it, but not in the way of like, this is a bad relationship, just in the way of, this is a movie relationship, we have to keep moving on. I wrote this in my notes later on, but I said this movie feels like one of those people on YouTube who edits a season of a TV show into a film, like into a 90-minute film, where it's like, sometimes the scenes are like, that's a weirdly specific scene that doesn't feel like it was supposed to be here. And then sometimes it feels weirdly general. And it genuinely feels like this comes from like a 15-hour TV show and has been edited down to 2 hours. Like, it is a very, very strangely paced film.
Yeah, it's because they shove in all 4 of his tours in the Middle East into like one quick little narrative, and like,
yeah, we were real excited to see that.
Yeah, but they're all like, the courtship is cut between his like sniper training. And then 9/11 happens on TV. Like, he rushed to the bathroom to watch it. He's all sap in a macho way. He's like standing up with like his muscles out.
Yeah, she's crying on him. It's like, cut between him in sniper school being the best one there and never missing. Like, the instructor is like impressed by him. Yeah. Like, it's just like self-insert power fantasy type shit.
Yeah, and like, they get married, but it's a pretty quick wedding. Like, clearly they're on a military vessel and like they're on a boat, and he still has green paint on his neck during the fucking wedding. And like, his buddies, like during their dance at the wedding, like his buddies are getting called, like getting confirmation of going to war. So like, it's like weird Clint Eastwood economical shorthand where it's like, they get married, but also he was clearly training beforehand, so it almost seems like a shotgun wedding. But they haven't announced they're going to war fully yet. They announced they're going to war, but they've not confirmed the tour they're going on yet until like the middle of the dance of the wedding. It's very clumsy.
Call that a sniper rifle wedding, not a shotgun wedding.
And like, they're dancing, and like, she feels his heart rate like while touching his chest, like, so like it's very, very fast. And happens a couple times where that's how like she can tell he stresses because his heart rate is high. But then we cut to tour 1, and Chris is now in Fallujah, and he's doing an Overwatch mission to protect the Marines. And we're basically back at the start of the film, and the city's been evacuated, so any military-age male is there to kill them, so it's okay to kill them back, which is like, you know...
Which is the beginning of this assumption. There are 2 emotions Arabs can have, terrified and evil. Those are the 2 things an Arab can be in this movie. They can be a terrified victim, or they can be a horrible piece of shit. And there is literally no exception to this rule in the entire film. I was like, do they ever even have one interaction that does not fall into one of these two boxes, and they don't. Not one.
And this movie,
shocking.
We'll get to it later, but like the movie presents itself as going to have a nice interaction like that when he gets invited. They all get invited to a dinner for Eid, and then it becomes like, oh, this is all fucked up. This is a hugely fucked up way to display the scene.
Yeah, it's not even doing the sort of competent thing that some of these other like more effective propaganda films where it's like, no, the vast majority of them greet them as liberators type thing. It's like, no, the characters in this movie repeatedly refer to them as barbarians, and the film sees them as such and expects the viewer to go in with that kind of perspective. I think Clint Eastwood is just like, yeah, of course everyone who's going to see this movie is just going to like hate every Muslim they see and basically see them as like orcs to be slaughtered like in Lord of the Rings. That's basically like what we're working with here. I mean, it is just considered unquestioningly like that. Even like people that are completely unrelated to the war, that it is totally fine to kick them out of their house. It's completely fine to kick their door in, hold them down, and put a gun to the back of the kid's head. You're actually a fine person for doing that. These people are cowardly and subhuman. That is the perspective of the movie. Like actually, like you would, if your only perspective on like this culture you ever had was from this movie, you would think they were like a literal like subhuman race. That is how they are depicted in this film. Their enemies are comically evil, and the people that are not non-combatants are just complete cowards who have no internal monologue whatsoever. It's horrifying. And it like the very beginning is him sniping a fucking child. Like and yes, like it's not supposed to be saying, isn't it cool he sniped a child? But it is supposed to be saying, like, he did what he had to do. Isn't that so messed up that they put him in that situation? Yeah. The film does not spend any time interrogating how could a woman and a child be put in a situation so intense that a woman might think, all I have left is to blow this thing up. That's all I have left in life. Not to justify a suicide bomber, but there is no thought for what the suicide bomber thinks. There is no perspective there. Not even a token. Which is what makes this, I think, not that effective a propaganda film 10, 15 years on.
It's the first scene of the movie. Like, they wrap back to the first scene of the movie. And, like, so, like, you know, he kills the boy, and then the woman, presumably the mother, picks up the anti-tank grenade and tries running towards the tank to kill some Marines. Chris kills her, too. And, so apparently these are supposed to be his first kill, which, you know, maybe it's his first kill. Maybe in real life he killed some people back in America because he apparently loves killing so much. You don't know. He,
in the book, I will say, and again, it's been years since I read it, but I recall he does say that he killed children. He does say that, and I'm going to be honest, spends a lot less time feeling bad about it in the book. I do remember, like he says, like, it was messed up that I had to do it, but it's very, like, and that's another notch in my kill count. Like, you know, it's nuts. And very nearly kills another child in this movie as well.
And like at the base, like he's like talks about like he runs into Ryan Job, real guy who basically played by Jake McDormand, and he's like whining about like having to train local personnel, and he talks to Chris about like popping his cherry, which is apparently what they described to as killing your first person. And Chris says what the kid was forced to do with the anti-tank grenade was evil. And it's not what he envisioned his first kill would be. Which, like, I get if you're a soldier trained for war, like, the idea is that you have a gun, so you're going to be killing someone. But it's just still is like, okay, like, you are over here to kill people. It's not just, like, especially if you're a sniper, and, like, you know, like, when it comes to, like, sniper, like, I'm thinking of, like, when I was, like, a little kid, like, playing video games and, like, being a sniper, it's such, like, a cool idea where you're so far away, you have to get the shot lined up so correct. But essentially, I think you can make a great movie about it being a sniper and how cold and distant it is. How, like, you're so far away from the conflict, you are alone, and almost, like, the fact that you're so distant from who you are killing, you could have a really good psychological drama about it, which this movie says it's going to reckon with, but does not really do it at all. Because he's just, after this, he's just another day on Overwatch, and he's killing more people. Like, he takes a driver of a car who's driving towards a bunch of Marines, shoots another guy who's playing an explosive in the ground, he kills another guy who's, like, running into the street with an assault rifle. It's like, the body count just stacks up, and you don't really see any real hesitation. Eventually,
but it is, I will say, it is where the movie is at its strongest, is some of these scenes in the middle, at least on the technical level. Mm-hmm. It's just like, okay, we're moving, things are happening, there are interesting things. The sound is great.
Yes.
I have to say that. The sound is fantastic.
So this movie did win the Oscar for, let me double check because the awards were not combined yet, but won the award for Best Sound Editing. And it is a great sounding movie. And it's
the clicks of the guns and the the sounds and but it's just it is, though, beside from some of that, mostly kind of just schlocky. This whole center of the movie just kind of schlocky shooting guys and different little scenes of little levels, like Hitman levels he's on, basically. And no kill seems to have any kind of lasting effect on him. Like you'd think there'd be more hesitancy or like one is messing him up, but it's most of it feels just kind of video game levels. He's just taking guys down. You can, like you said, you can make sniping interesting both on a psychological level and also, like, I don't know, I'm thinking of Steven Spielberg with Saving Private Ryan, like the sniping scenes in that film, how much more effective they are than this, where it mostly does feel just very like, okay, American sniper gonna American snipe somebody. But it's got its moments where it works on an action scene level, but it's just kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Like, one thing with Saving Private Ryan with a sniper there, so like Barry Pepper's character, when he's doing the sniping, he's doing all these prayers and stuff, but there's also like a sense of like a look of sadness in his eyes while he's doing it. Like, it's a good casting for this facer because like he's competent. It's kind of like badass what he's doing. He's like killing all these like Nazis like very quickly, but there's a bit of a sadness to his face, even if it might not be in the performance. There's no real sadness in Bradley Cooper's face until like around the middle of the movie, when like he has to kind of like the scene demands for him to be very emotional. And like even the next part where we meet Mark Lee, another soldier played by Luke Grimes. These are all, like, there's only two buddies in this movie. There's Mark Lee guy and the other guy who like are the SEALs that are actually kind of characters, don't have much to do. But he's commended by Mark Lee that he's killed 8 people. And Chris is humble because he only killed 6 because 2 of them were carried away, can't confirm he's dead. But he's not pleased with himself because despite having more kills than every other sniper combined, some of their own are still dead. So he does not feel like he's accomplished his mission because he wants to save as many of his own people as possible. And this part's kind of fucked up. I'm not sure how accurate this is, where as he's overlooking people with a sniper rifle, he's calling his wife back home, who's pregnant. And
crazy behavior.
Crazy, yeah, because, like, sure, like, maybe his finger's not on the trigger there, but so he's looking at people, surveilling. And, like, he has a gun pointed towards people as, like, he's talking to his wife about, like, the wedding night and what she was wearing at the wedding night. And, you know, he's all the macho shit about, like, assuming the baby's gonna be a boy. He can sense it being a boy because he's, like, you know, a proper American man. And he learns from her that apparently his little brother who we met before has now been deployed to Iraq, which doesn't really matter too much because we run into the brother one more time, and the brother basically just, like, is all shell-shocked and leaves.
Yeah, and then it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I don't think the character comes back after that point. So, like, Kyle gets briefed on the big mission of the movie, which is they're fighting bin Laden's top people in Iraq. They're going door to door, they're going to clear 10 structures an hour to find these people. They're trying to track down this guy called the Butcher, who is apparently the second in command. Who
not
is
a real guy.
Not a real guy. But this movie...
There was not a guy named the Butcher who kills people with a power drill and then eats them, is the implication. Like... Come on. Like, it's literally like an urukai. Like, come on.
And, like, it's just like, okay, well, like, okay, so, like, now we have this one villain set up here. But we also get told by, there's another sniper, a rival sniper, Mustafa, And he's apparently based on an Iraqi sniper named Juba. So it's kind of based on someone that's real, but, like, there's no way, like, apparently Chris Kyle did not kill this guy. They did not really face off whatsoever. But, like, Mustafa is basically the villain of this movie, where it's basically, here's a guy that he can duel with the entire time. Every time there's a tour there, here's a sniper.
Played by Sammy Sheik, looking like the hottest person I've ever seen in my entire life. Sammy Sheik is every scene he's in, like, he looks so clean and so cool. Mm-hmm. Like, I got so mad when he died. I was all look. We don't see Mustafa kill any children in this movie. We see some other people do, but I'm just saying, of the two snipers, the American sniper and the hot sniper, only the American sniper kills children. I'm just saying. But they were like, yeah, he's like a dude who won the gold medal in the Olympics. I will say, I believe during the Iraq War, kind of a generalized term for a very good sniper on the enemy side was a Mustafa. It was a kind of like a folk legend kind of a guy. It was multiple dudes. So that they were like at least collating something there. But yeah, the Butcher is just like, they just basically were like, okay, what's like the worst things a guy could be? And they combined it. Not to say that like Al-Qaeda has not and does not continue to do like insane acts of horror, but like also they're just creating a fake guy with this in a way that's very, once again, another attempt to dehumanize people. You can show actual things Al-Qaeda has done and they're horrible enough without like inventing a supervillain. This makes it feel very weak and like ineffective. And the fact of the matter is, like, the real horrors that are done in war are done through very ideological lenses, and that's something that you should examine. It's not just people who just kind of wander around like you know, complete psychopaths for the most part. Not people in positions of power at the very least. I guess maybe Marines or like people on the ground, like your Chris Kyle types, but not like a guy like the Butcher who is leading this operation. It just doesn't work, and it's the way it's edited and the way it's paced is it just keeps being these like little scenes, these little like combat set pieces that feel like levels, and some of them are good and some of them aren't, but they're all kind of building towards getting the Butcher, but not in any like meaningful sense where it feels like the rivalry is growing. Honestly, like if you're just going to invent a character, just make him the Butcher and the evil sniper the same guy, because like, yeah, I don't think it works.
And like, I feel bad for Shami Sheikh who plays the character there, is that like the actor who plays Mustafa, like he was also in 24 playing a suicide bomber. He was also in Lost playing someone, I think it was a terrorist in that show too. Like I feel bad for all these actors that kind of pigeonhole these American roles playing these stereotypical parts. And 24 is a problematic favorite show for me. I love that show. I think it's very addictive, but that show is like very, very Bush era kind of Islamophobic fears, terrorist fears, war on terror fears. But even that show like tries to do like a bit more humanization. Like every season there'll always be some, it might be a clumsy scene, but it's always like a Muslim character trying to help Jack Bauer, help terrorists, because like we're not all like that person. We're all not all like these bad people here. But this movie does not really have those characters at all, which is kind of fucked up. And
because Clint Eastwood doesn't believe that. I mean, if you listen to him talk, if you read his social media pages, if you see his output of work, one thing that he does not, he is not a typical conservative in every single sense.
He's not a Trump conservative, right? He's more
I mean, like I'm sure he voted for Trump, but like he's not like he's got his own kind of thing going on, but he hates Muslims. There is with a burning passion. That is one thing that he is unflinching about across his statements. He was a big Benghazi guy too.
Yeah, like if Spielberg did this movie, they would be absolutely humanized, which would make it a lot more of a three-dimensional movie. And,
yes, it would.
And so like so like, you know, Chris is kind of bored because he hasn't killed anyone in a while, so like he's like, there's nothing to do in Overwatch up here, so I'm going to join the soldiers door to door to help. Like,
he's such a bad troop for that.
Yeah,
he's such a bad soldier.
Who's overwatching? Who's protecting everyone else then? Like, why are you doing this? Like, and like,
I was hoping a bunch of people would die because of that decision. Like, that would have been like a plot thing, and he would have been guilty. That would have made sense. But no, that's not.
But this is only for plot mechanics to get inside this building here, where there's a father there who's, you know, middle aged, and Chris beats him with the butt of his gun, and they're yelling at him. He falls into the scared category rather than the evil category. And so this guy does not speak much English. So they get an interpreter. Chris Kyle yells at him some more. They learn from this guy with the Butcher, who's like weapon of choice is apparently a drill. And then so they're trying to pull this lead this guy has. So, you know, on the truck there is like Chris gets another call from Taya saying they're going to have a boy, and it's just like, how many phone calls are you getting out about like this? Like, I feel like these kind of phone calls are best when you're, not on a mission, Chris. Maybe
fantastic cell service for Iraq in 2004. I gotta say.
Like he has like a satellite phone or something, but at the same time though, it's like, why are you taking so many personal calls on the job?
Yeah.
But Mustafa,
maybe you would have gotten that kill count up. Maybe you could have gotten Mustafa sooner if you weren't paying attention to your girlfriend, Greg.
Mm-hmm. And like Mustafa kills the driver of the truck they're in, and Taya hears all the gunfire over the phone. She's freaking the fuck out. But don't worry, our boys are all calm and collected and cool as they're fighting back against this evil Muslim threat. And we see the butcher taking a power drill to the son of the man who helped the Americans. And Chris Kyle's like trying to work his way towards Mustafa. But then the butcher takes a power drill to the boy's head, and the father gets gunned down. And he says the butcher says you talk to them and you die with them. And the mission is completely shut down. The butcher and Mustafa escape. We'll see you next time, Gadget, kind of thing. And Chris is pissed for the remaining 3 weeks of his tour because he's shut down. He can't actually track down the villains of the film, which I'm not sure if real soldiers have nemesis as this movie suggests. And it's again the economic storytelling of Clint Eastwood falls apart here completely because he gets home from the airport. He's on the airfield, and all the soldiers' wives are greeting the soldiers, and she says "Oh, I thought you were dead." Did you not talk after the phone call?
Yeah, he didn't call back the entire time. That was his one phone.
It's so fucking clumsy. It was getting a lawyer, getting a phone call to your lawyer. You're only allowed 3 phone calls per tour or something, and you're gonna use them all up.
This section between tour 1 and 2 has one of my favorite moments in it too, which is where he's going on a rant that is so clearly written in 2013, 2014, where he says, again, this is supposed to be in 2005 at this point. There's a war and nobody America cares. It's not in the news. We're just looking at our cell phones all the time.
Oh my God.
A guy in 2005 did not say we're just looking at our cell phones all the time.
Yeah.
Right? They existed, but that's not, we didn't have fucking touch screens and that it is a very I don't know.
Also,
it's not a big deal, but it was a very big for shame you're not respecting our troops enough.
And this is 2005. Bush just won his second term. People were still gung ho about this damn war.
No one. Iraq wasn't in the news in 2005 is a shocking claim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe it would honestly gives me a lot more authenticity if because this is when they're driving to and from the hospital to check on the baby's health is in utero, and if they saw some protesters on the street in one of those designated protest zones they used to have back during that era, if he saw some protesters and they got pissed off about that, it would actually be a lot more authentic for what the movie's trying to say about how how beneficial this war is. So how dare these people protest what we're doing? So that part's funny. But the funniest part is that she goes into labor during this conversation, and he takes the most reckless fucking U-turn on the highway.
Yeah, just whips his car around.
And this baby's born healthy, and this baby is actually a real human baby, which is kind of nice because we don't get a real human baby later on.
Yeah, no, they had one human baby in the budget.
And then Chris goes home and he's watching a VHS tape of Mustafa killing more Americans, and he's obsessed with he's
just watching snuff films. Yeah,
on the family room TV on the cathode ray tube TV, and Taya just keeps challenging him and keeping things quiet. It's all repetitive, right? It's just she's asking the same questions all the time. You should focus more on the family, not the war over there.
And he's just having his minty health over here. He's just oh man, I'm so sad. But also, I'm not going to act about it. I'm just going to kind of say it. Mm-hmm. And I guess the idea is that he's keeping it inside internally, but it mostly just kind of looks like Bradley Cooper being bored in those scenes for the most part. Him just kind of keeping a straight face. I'm I get what they're going for. They're going for a guy that doesn't know how to express these emotions. But because this is a film that can't be critical of, say, toxic masculinity, which would have to be to actually engage with that, it really just is instead look at this stoic guy. Look how much he's suffering. Aren't you so sad that you've ever been mean to a troop?
And Bradley Cooper can do that very well, in A Star Is Born, which he attracts him as well. The fact that his star's on the decline, her star's on the rise, and the fact he's able to show up I love this woman, but the resentment towards his career kind of fading. He can do this bubbling up of anger and stuff and still be heroic and masculine with it. But this movie just does not do that. He's not allowed to do that.
That's probably in part because of Clint Eastwood's directorial style.
I think
he does
so.
not like to do a bunch of takes of dialogue. He wants to get it done. Again, he's very workhorse. It's why he can turn 25 million into 75 million like nobody else in the business every single time. Yeah. But when you're trying to do moments like this in a biopic that's like a guy's going to get nominated for Best Actor for, sometimes you got to do the third take, Clint. I'm sorry.
Yep. It's a funny story with Mystic River, how like Sean Penn with that movie, like he was pissed off, called his agent, asked to get him off, and he was like, this Clint Eastwood, like he's doing 2 takes, I'm not giving any good performance at all, get me off of this movie. And he couldn't get off. And Sean Penn thought he was giving an awful performance, and like he gives a great performance, ends up winning the Oscar for it. Like it does work in some accounts here, but with Clint Eastwood, it does not work in this movie whatsoever. And so now we're on the second tour in Iraq, and Chris learns that there's this Iraqis now have put a bounty on his head. He's now the most wanted man in Iraq right now. So
they're trying to kill you for your Crusader cross tattoo. Yeah, he did it before it was before Pete Hegseth had one. and he's got to deal with these like people in his unit who are woke cucks who are questioning the war. You know, they've gone woke. They're not cool anymore because they have even the slightest question in their mind whether it's cool to just butcher people in their own country.
Yeah, and like Chris is saying, like we're protecting more than just Iraqi dirt. We're standing up for something. And
yeah, he was like, "Do you want these people to come to Los Angeles?" And it's like, why would they? They don't want to come to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Do you want Iraq to attack New York again? Don't look up who did 9/11, right? Like
exactly. Yeah, it's just like it's such a ridiculous war.
Though I will say I would believe that Chris Kyle himself did not know the difference in like Al-Qaeda and Saddam Hussein. Like I do believe that the guy didn't know the difference. But the thing is the movie doesn't know the difference either.
And it's been that far away from when these events happen that you can probably like have some nuance looking back at it.
Oh God, like the way if they people don't like bother to learn the difference in these like Arab countries or these different groups or anything like that. I think they're kind of having to now. Like a lot of people are scrambling to look at maps for the first time over the last 2 weeks. But yeah, no, the way these movies are, it's so flippant with like who's who, what's where, what I could go on my whole rant about how Al-Qaeda was barely a thing in Iraq until we overthrew Saddam. And that's the reason we were fighting Al-Qaeda in the Second Battle of Fallujah, was because we destabilized their country and allowed Al-Qaeda to gain a foothold. But, the movie's not interested in that remotely.
And, like, at this point, they're trying to find the butcher, so they're surveilling a restaurant that they believe he's in. So they're in someone's house, and they're asked by the guy whose house they're in, like, hey, do you want to eat supper with us? And it's such a nice gesture for very conservative movies. Like, they sit down, have this nice, nice meal, nice religious meal with them. But, like, all the Marines are keeping themselves during the meal. But then Chris sees on the elbow of the guy who's hosting them a red mark, which is called a sniper strawberry, which is caused by a sniper being prone for too long. So Chris starts wandering around the house being a snoopy little bastard, and finds a big stash of weapons in the ground underneath the carpet. And he takes the man of the house, puts him in a chokehold, and brings him to the stash there. And he threatens the man, "You're either going to be sent to the Iraqi court, or you can help us get into the restaurant across the street." So the man gets him. The man goes across the street there. They're looking after him, and he knocks on the door, gets let inside. A sniper kills the man and greets him. Then the man picks up a rifle. Americans just gun him down. And then inside the restaurant, they find a body of a tortured man, as well as some decapitated head and body parts.
Yeah, he's been eating people.
Yeah, which is just like, come on, movie. This extended firefight with insurgents, and this is where the butcher dies, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you'd think it would be a bigger deal because that seems like it's going to be the big thing. This is why it's like, if you're going to make up a character, just make the butcher and Mustafa the same guy. Like if we're already making stuff up, like build towards the end. But no, like they kill the butcher with like very little fanfare, really. Like and then of course all the ungrateful citizens of the town yell at him for killing the butcher, but he liberated them. They should be praising him, but instead they're yelling at him. Why are they so mean to our poor boy Chris Kyle?
Did you watch the movie Warfare from last year, the Alex Garland movie?
I did not, no.
That's a movie that is very much like the scene there where they're holed up in a house, like all the American soldiers, and then everything goes to shit. They get targeted by insurgents and everything. The movie, do you care if I spoil Warfare for you?
Go for it.
I think the movie ends on such a great note where like they get evacuated finally after all the air support and like all this wasted resources, and all the American soldiers leave, and then everyone just civilians that come back to the street there. The American presence spent nothing at all. Like it was used for them to be there. But then in the credit scene has all the soldiers that were involved in the actual conflict itself, like smiling and taking photos, like we were part of a movie set. I'm like, okay, no, this anti-war movie is just a showcase jerk off for all the soldiers.
Yeah. That makes me think too of how interesting it is when movies like this, they do such a poor job of depicting the actual conditions on the ground of what fighting actually looked like in Afghanistan and Iraq, which I know you're not supposed to. You're making a movie, I guess, but they want it to seem very realistic. They do a poor job, I think, of showing just how overwhelming American power actually was in every single conflict. Air power never comes into play in any of these movies. Their sheer capacity, like with tanks and the numbers, all of the ammunition. Like you don't. They want you to feel like Chris Kyle is outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered at every turn. Every now and then it shows its hand to be like, oh, they can call in like a billion guys at any point. But it is kind of interesting when you like see these movies and popular imagination what the war was actually like versus when you read like in-depth accounts of what the war was like, which was basically like, oh yeah, we would call on our planes to bomb them 15 times and then we'd walk in and scrap up whatever was left. Well, it was what the actual combat was like. In these wars. Just kind of a note that doesn't get addressed at all. You see no American artillery, almost no American air support, which is
you just get a drone surveilling. That's about it. Like you don't really get
it's deeply inaccurate to the way the wars were actually fought. Which like they want to care about gritty realism, but if they showed the gritty realism, it would show how actually materially unfair these wars were. It would actually make the Al-Qaeda guys look pretty courageous for even engaging in the war at all, which is, of course, the scariest thing they could do is show even anything that approaches virtue in the enemy.
Which is interesting because like Vietnam movies, like I think the biggest difference in Vietnam movies and these modern like Middle East war movies is that the Vietnam had the draft. So like you had a lot of people who were going to be artists anyways who were drafted to fight this conflict that they ended up losing 100%, like no doubt about it at all. The win conditions for like the Iraq war, Afghanistan, war on terror in general are so dubious that like you can't really say who. They'll argue that we did not lose the war when they did lose the war.
I think in Afghanistan at this point it's hard to argue considering who the government in Afghanistan is, but Iraq you could still do that. Yeah.
But like I think with the with Vietnam movies is like you have like people with like far weaker firepower using guerrilla tactics who actually can overwhelm Americans. It seemed like they try to balance out the who's actually winning a certain firefight point in time. And you're right about how these movies, like American firepower is so much stronger that like these people have no chance whatsoever. This movie never presents an actual chance where like you see truly one SEAL dies in this movie, or directly. Two die, but like one dies directly on camera, and it doesn't seem like a fair fight ever. And the fact that only one of them dies is kind of like, okay, well, like you guys are kicking their asses clearly in this war. Like it's not like you are really in that much peril. Like
right, it wants to have it both ways. It wants you to feel like they're in so much danger at all times. But look at the actual kill numbers of how many Americans died versus how many Iraqis died, right? Or Afghanis died in the Afghanistan war, or any war that we're involved in, right? Including Vietnam, to be fair. It was a war of attrition, right? Just a thing that always gets me about these movies is it's not depicting the actual conditions on the ground, which is mostly that American superiority comes entirely through air power. But of course that shows how shitty these wars actually look, which is we're just going to technologically superiority you into the ground. Actually, snipers are not that important.
Yeah, which means he's just doing it for the fun of it.
Yeah, he's just excited to have killed hundreds of guys. Yeah.
And so he's back home after this tour, and he's at a car wash or something. He runs into this guy.
It's kind of strange.
This guy lost his leg. He tells Chris Kyle, maybe you should go to a VA. People would love to meet the legend. This guy tells Chris Kyle, his son Colton. And Colton is the most conservative name ever for a kid. I'm sorry. Colton, your daddy's a hero. Thank you for lending him to us.
Yeah, and this is another one of those scenes where Bradley Cooper is trying to show that he's retreating into himself, but instead he looks bored.
Yeah.
I fear.
Yeah, and Ty has another baby, this time a baby girl, And so Chris is at the maternity ward, and he starts banging on the glass and yelling at a nurse because she won't immediately tend to the daughter. And now it becomes...
my child is crying!
Yeah. It's like, that's the first time we see some actual aggression come out of him. And now we get to the most iconic scene of the movie. This is the big emotional climax between Taya and Chris, where like they're in the daughter's bedroom. She's in tears. She's making memories all by herself with the kids because Chris isn't even around. Even when he's physically at home, he's not here. He's not present because his mind's back in the Middle East, back in the war. And she hands off this baby to his baby daughter, to Chris Kyle, and this baby is literally plastic. It's a fake baby. It looks so fucking ridiculous. And the best part is like they're doing all this emotional work, but the doll is so distracting. And when Bradley Cooper's holding this baby, he's holding the baby, and like he has the baby's arm underneath his pinky, this baby doll, and he's manipulating the baby's hand with it to like make it seem like the arm is moving and like the baby's
I can't stress enough, this is not us being like zooming in on a frame in the corner. This is not looking for boom mics. This is front and center, very clear. It is shocking to me that they let this in the movie.
And so the screener of this movie said like the first baby they had for the scene got sick. The second baby never showed up, and Clint was like, we just gotta get the scene done, let's move on.
The second baby never showed up is hilarious.
Yeah.
I like the baby was like, talk to my agent. You know?
Yeah. And this scene is just, because this is the emotional climax between the two characters. This is the big fight between them. And the fact that this baby is so distracting, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, do the scene again, like, or do it later on. Like, just take your time with it. Or
just like don't have the I don't know, like literally anything except make this one of like, I mean, I'm glad it's in the movie because I needed this. I really needed this.
You need the burst of laughter at the hour mark, which this movie it provides.
I had remembered there was something with a baby, but I had not remembered how bad it was. I was like, oh my god.
The
moving the arm.
It's so funny. And Bradley Cooper is executive producer of this movie. So here's a guy with control of the finances, and he's like, well, like, I gotta manipulate this baby's arm with my thumb to like get to pretend it's real.
It's so good.
And we get to tour number 3 now. And, you know, the Americans are...
Give it up for tour 3.
Yeah. The Americans are all in their vehicles. They're being surveyed by the locals who use their flip phones, text Mustafa where they are. And Mustafa's now with a woman with a baby. And we don't see this baby at all. His face is clearly just like all wrapped up. But this baby's definitely fake as well.
Yeah. And at that point, we're looking for it, you know?
I'm looking for all the fake baby. Ever since this movie, every time I see a baby on screen, I try to say, is this baby real or fake? And most movies do a good enough job to have a real baby in there. Mm-hmm. Or hide it, but this movie does not.
If you're gonna have a fake baby, there's stuff you can do. You know, the art of filmmaking. We've been doing it for a while. Yeah. Clint, how much money you have? Tens of millions of dollars. Yeah.
This is 2-time Best Director winning Oscar winner Clint Eastwood. Like
exactly.
Yeah. And so there's another sequence of Americans taking out locals, moving through houses. Chris Kyle has this tour. Chris Kyle has a big Punisher logo on his back as well as the magazine. Mm-hmm. And his buddy Ryan Jobs, aka Biggles, he gets shot in the face by Mustafa. So he can't get Mustafa, so they evacuate. Biggles going to surgery, and then
it's interesting that Mustafa actually they cut it, but he actually said LOL. Who calls themselves Biggles before shooting him?
It's such a shitty nickname.
Bro really goes by Biggles. Like, imagine one of your friends is the Legend, and you're Biggles. Like, no wonder he fucking got capped.
Yeah.
Like, he probably put his face up so he could get hit. He's like, I'm tired of this disrespect.
There's the bounty out for Chris Kyle, the Legend. And then like a Biggles just like, LOL, if you kill him, we'll get you like a pizza party tonight.
Yeah.
And so because all these guys, this apparently happened in real life where they leave the field of area of operation, then they return to try and get the baddies as they're running away. So at this point, they're in a building, and Mark Lee gets shot and killed, sniped in the head by Mustafa, and he dies. And Chris is all sad. This apparently he was the first Navy SEAL killed in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And so we get back to America, and there's a military funeral for Mark Lee. We get the whole like 21 gun salute, the full American flag, the typical sad like scene for a funeral in a movie. And
exhausting.
We get a big long like Lee's last letter home, which is the real letter he had in real life, is read at the funeral. And this letter mentions doubting the crusade of war, and kind of presents some disillusionment over the conflict and like why we're here. And then the following scene has Taya talking to Chris like, oh, like why did Mark Lee die? He's like, oh well, like he died because of the letter, because he let go and he paid the price for it. In real life, the letter's online. The first 2 paragraphs are talking about like, not sure why we're here because there's a lot of death, a lot of destruction. Then the next 4 paragraphs like, yeah, but I'm so glad we're here. Like I've just seen like, people have food on their tables again. I'm seeing a lot of Iraqis doing this, doing that. They're happy for us to be here. Happy 4th of July. We're doing great work here. Even Mark Lee's mother in real life was complaining about this movie, about how like my son was fully committed to this war effort. He was not like disillusioned by it all. But here's the real letter. And that's an insane thing to make up, where you have the SEALs 100% put into the war, and you make him like, oh, he doubted the war for the purpose of having the scene between Chris Kyle and his wife, which is a fucking nuts scene to put into place.
He doubted the war, which made his head more shootable, too. It's just completely a lot. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. He doubted the war, so that's why Mustafa sniped him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so, like... It's like
so
not only
screenwriter bullshit. Like,
yeah, not only is it disrespecting like a real guy, who, but like which whose family was pissed about this. Not the first or last person to ever get pissed at Chris Kyle and Chris Kyle adjacent media's exaggerations. But also just like, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean he died because stupid shit? The only person I can think of who died because they doubted the Iraq war was Pat Tillman. But there's a different story there.
Oh god, yeah, that's a fascinating story. You should look it up if you've not heard
that's
it.
A movie. That's a movie.
That's
right
a
there.
movie, 100%. Yeah, that is the true anti-war movie, anti-American imperialism movie you can make. Like that is like, yeah, that's a really fascinating story. And so this tour ends up with another repetitive scene of like Chris telling Taya like, "Oh, if I die, you'll find someone else." She asks me if he has a death wish. She asks why he keeps going back. He's like, "I gotta protect her, you and our family. I want to serve the country." He's like, "You don't know when to quit." But he has to keep on sacrificing, and like, but she needs him to become human again. But then she says, "I might not be here when you return," which like doesn't come to anything. And
it's like there's nothing backing that up at all.
Yeah, like if there was like another guy at home or something like that she was seeing or something, or she had any kind of character whatsoever,
she has nothing against the war. It's not like she's like, actually this war is bad. It's just like, I want you here, and I don't care if it. I literally wrote in my notes, "Stop being so based, husband." Like that's what it feels like. Like it feels like her being like, "Stop being such an epic, cool Marine. Like I need or SEAL. So you should let your fellow friends die." Like it doesn't. She comes off horribly in this as somebody who doesn't understand him, does not care about the thing he's invested in his life in. Like she does not come off reasonable unless. I mean, she comes off reasonable to me in the sense that I'm looking at what it probably actually was like. But if you're accepting the premises of the movie, that every time this guy deploys, he saves 1 billion lives, then like she does come off as just like this conniving, selfish
just a
piece of shit.
Wife. Yeah.
I don't know why the wife likes this movie remotely.
Yeah. Well, because it makes her money. Like,
probably, yeah.
Well, with this book, the book American Sniper, so Chris Kyle's book, like they said like, all proceeds will go to charity.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Which is bullshit because only 2% went to charity, and the Kyle family was able to make millions off of it. So like again,
they made a lot of money, and also, well, they also had their own charity. There was a lot of shit.
And even Taya Kyle, is it Taya or Taya? Whatever, doesn't matter. She even had her own book called American Wife about being a widow in a war zone.
Sick.
Yeah, which is like a hilarious title. Like, my husband made an American Sniper.
It would be awesome if she lied even more than him. She was like, "I was the one who killed Mustafa." She should have leaned into it. She should have been like, "He only killed 30 people in New Orleans. Let me tell you, Katrina never happened. All the death was me."
Do you think, like, I'm not sure about how much Sienna Miller's doing right now. I know she's up for an Emmy a few years ago, but, like, we should pitch American Wife as, like, we're get her back into it as a spiritual sequel to American Sniper, where we just have her doing all this crazy shit instead.
Yeah.
And have it be just as realistic.
We should not tell anyone we are optioning American Wife, but we have infinite creative control. And, like, the first scene is, like, Kill Bill. Like, she's just katanaing, and then she's like, "The butcher. Somehow he returned." And it's like the butcher, and he's got like a head wound, but he's still alive, and they're like dueling. These could be awesome. This could be so good.
Yeah, and have like little dream sequences of Bradley Cooper coming back as like a Force ghost.
Yeah, no, Bradley Cooper is absolutely there. She does a ritual to bring him back. Look, there's so much we could do with this movie. Okay, I'm gonna option. Yeah, it turns into a horror movie. Yeah. We could get Sam Raimi to consult on it. This is gonna be great.
So the credits of this movie show Chris Kyle's like his funeral, which happens at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which is insane. It kind of reminded me of Charlie Kirk's funeral at where the Arizona Cardinals play. And like, so you started off American Wife with having the funeral there, and then you have Ty Kyle do the whole Erica Kirk thing and like not give a fuck about the husband's death at all. And then you start the training montage where she learns to become like a master assassin of the Tutelage of Pai
She's
Mei.
like, I would have dodged that bullet.
Yeah, and like, you know, gets a Hattori Hanzo sword and kills the crazy 88.
Exactly. It's got to happen.
So now we're in the fourth and final tour, thank God.
Fourth and final tour.
And we still learn that Biggles died on the operating table. And Biggles is all, you know, he's like, there's a Biggles that died? Yeah, I think whatever. As far as Chris some more.
Yeah, he just is like, damn.
Despite the fact in real life, he didn't die because of the wounds he got. He died due to medical malpractice.
Yeah.
So
the VA is much lauded in this movie, but real problems there, folks.
Mm-hmm. And so Chris shoots a guy with an RPG. A young boy picks it up, and like he mutters to himself, like, drop it, please drop it. And the boy like raises the RPG, is about to fire it, and then just drops to the ground and runs away. And this is the scene where I think Bradley Cooper does some great acting, where he just releases emotionally.
Yeah.
And like he, like, you know, he's very, very emotional. This is the point where he actually shows some like true emotion that's not just anger or like stoicism. It's just like he's actually relieved and like seems on the verge of a breakdown, but kind of containing himself. It's his best acting in the movie, I think.
Yeah, the part works. He doesn't, and it's because he is having some kind of internal conflict, right? It's because it is not just him being a video game character. It is, most of this movie is him being like, I gotta do this even though it sucks. This is a moment where he's actually trying to make a decision. Yeah. And that is not, everything else feels so on rails, and that's why it works. And it's able to be resolved in a way that you know, it's able to be resolved in a way that's not, you know, him just killing a kid. Now, you know.
But he doesn't even reckon the fact that, like, because these people, they do not view Arabs as humans or people in the Middle East as humans. It's never a part like, oh, he looks like just like my son. He never.
No, no, nothing like that.
Which, like, yeah, it's just like almost, this is some other species who's under my crosshairs.
I mean, at the one point earlier when he does kill the kid, the Marine with him is like, if you kill that kid and he doesn't actually have a bomb, you could get in trouble. It's not, you've just killed a child that wasn't going to do anything. It was, that could be a stain on your record, you know? And the movie even goes on, has a couple moments where there are like officers who were like, why did you kill that guy? And he's like, damn it, I got the job done. You know, but this is the only scene. This feels like a scene out of a different and better movie. And it's a shame that we never see that guy again from that scene that actually has emotions about the people he's killing.
Because the next scene, which is basically the final climax of the movie, is like where missions kill Mustafa. The drone's reconning the entire area from above. So Chris gets into a sniper position. There's a sandstorm coming, and it's the worst CGI you'll ever see.
It's awful CGI. For some reason, like, this movie has done the yellow filter thing the entire movie whenever they're in Iraq. But it, like, for some reason, the yellow filter, even before the sandstorm is there, has been like tripled. Like, it's like dark and grimy despite being in the middle of the day, but like not in like kind of some stylistically interesting way, just in a way that, like I said, like Clint Eastwood at his worst looks like he's shooting a movie inside a coffin. And because it's not even a sniper duel. Like, they don't even have a duel between them. He just owns Mustafa.
Because like the basic thing is like Mustafa has a look as he's not in the location they thought they were. So he has to like turn like 45 degrees, look somewhere different. And Mustafa takes like one American soldier, but then Chris, he's able to instantly see from 2,100 yards out a Mustafa, who he thinks is Mustafa. He sees something. His spotter's like, that's an impossible shot. You can't make it. And like, you know, but like if he makes the shot, then he'll alert the Iraqi forces to where they are. Because it's a risky shot to take. Quick response force will be about 20 minutes out, but that's not enough time because, you know, more Americans could die. So Chris takes the shot anyway. He says, aim small, miss small, do it for Biggles.
Do it for Biggles.
We get a
t-shirt.
We get a bullet in slow motion, like a sniper rifle in Max Payne, and it
or like literally the game Sniper Elite. Yeah.
It'd be, I respect this movie a lot more if it's like Sniper Elite, where he hits him in the ball sack and you see the testicle explode. That'd be way better.
That would be so sick.
But now the enemy's learned his position. He still did a good job by the spotter, but everyone was around like, fuck you, Chris, you're going to get us all killed.
It'd be awesome if they did all die there. Like, that would be the end of the movie.
Yeah. And
I don't understand, like, if you're going to make up this story about him fighting this guy Mustafa, you got to end the movie with a sniper duel, not like a boring, like, machine gun into nothing versus machine gun into nothing, duck down.
It's a Call of Duty level. Like,
right, and like a bad one, too. Like, there is no sense of space. There's no sense of the numbers of the enemy, the threat they're in. Then there's the sandstorm, and everything is silhouettes.
Which muddles it, because you hide the numbers of it. You hide all the geography, all the proximity to everyone, and it's just like, it means nothing. And you don't see the Americans are able to bravely stand their ground. They say they're running out of ammo. The quick response force is a few blocks away, and Chris calls home to his wife again mid firefight. It's like, I'm coming home, sweetie. I'm coming home.
He's got to stop doing that. He keeps putting everybody at risk with that
like
horrible
shit, you don't
protocol.
see anyone else making phone calls home to their sweeties, like, and so, they're able to kill as many brown people as they possibly can. I don't think a single American dies, and they make it to the evac just in time as it's the evac's like driving away, and Chris is gonna run up and grab the hand of someone very heroically last minute, and
you can barely see it, but it does happen.
It does happen. You can't see shit. This scene's hideous. And we cut back to a bar in America, and this scene I think is actually pretty effective too, where Chris is just alone at a bar having a beer. It's like all the pandemonium of the last scene, the loudness of the sandstorm, all the bullet fire. It's just like a quiet scene at a bar. His wife calls in. He says like, he has not told her that he's home in America yet.
Yeah.
And he says, like, I guess I just needed a minute. And she says, like, the kids have been just dying to see you. And he starts like weeping, like, I'm coming home. And, like, you get the idea. It's like he's coming home, like, physically as well as emotionally. He's kind of done with the war. It's for isolated the scenes, I think, is pretty effective. But
and then he just, like, goes to the VA and he's fine because he went to the VA, right?
Yeah.
Like, It sucks the way they like wrap up this emotional arc that they've been trying to build of he's a damaged man. It's like he spends like 5 seconds around other guys. They don't really even talk about his shit, just their shit. And then he's just like fine. It's just like, yeah, and he was completely cured of the war disease.
The only real PTSD you really see is like when he's like at home, like watching the blank TV, and he's just hearing gunfire and helicopters and children crying. And that's all you really get for a PTSD angle. That's it. Nothing more. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and he's able.
There's the very funny scene where he's like at a birthday party or barbecue or something in a backyard, and like there's the dog playing with the kid, and he thinks the dog smashes the kid.
Dog. Yeah.
He almost like beats up the dog with a belt or a leash. But what's clumsy with the scene is like no one's other than his wife. No one's really reacting to him almost like fucking taking a belt to a dog's face. Like
and the fact that he's able to get cured of it so quickly, like it's just such a quick turnaround, and then it's just such a quick skip forward to you're such a successful man. Good job.
Yeah, like he's a psychiatrist, and he says like he's been Iraq for like 1,000 days, killed 160 people, but he's okay with it because he's protecting his guys. And he says the only thing that haunts him was the guys I couldn't save, which is such a propaganda line. Like
right. And it's like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if it's about the guys you couldn't save, why are you worried about a dog? We don't see a dog kill anyone in this movie. Like, it's just shit like that. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, then he just hangs out with some soldiers, helps them out, and then the end is shocking. Because I know how Chris Kyle actually died. He was hanging out with a soldier who was dealing with PTSD. They went to the shooting range, and the guy killed him. And that's how the movie ends. But the way it just, like, he's hanging out with his wife. He's like, bye, everybody.
The happiest day ever. Him and his son are like, want to play Skylanders with me, Dad? It's like, no, you're level 8. I'm level 4. Like,
and then, like, he looks outside and he sees this, like, troubled guy. And then he's like, I'll be home soon. And it just cuts to Chris Kyle was shot. I lost it. Yeah. I was like, this is so, like, it's so ham-fisted and silly the way they ended. It's so abrupt. And I know you're supposed to be really upset, and I understand why you don't show the scene of him getting shot, but the way they do it is so melodramatic, and then just the cut to text, it almost feels like a joke.
Yeah, because I feel like you could have like done the shooting range scene where he does die. Maybe not show him actually like get murdered, but maybe show the guy like unholstering his gun and getting ready to shoot him.
Something,
and have Chris Kyle have his nice little like final moments where he actually says like how he feels, something like that. Like maybe like, you know, I'm glad I left the war or something. There's like a missing scene to this because it's just so. It's so
because the guy who killed him, there's a thematic thing, like the guy who killed him is the Chris Kyle that didn't get better. If we're supposed to believe Chris Kyle got better, which I don't, but the movie would have us believe he got better, he became normal again. He died to a version of himself that didn't. And that's thematically interesting even in your horrible propaganda movie. Yeah. But it's not gonna do that because it just wants the end to be a shining, shimmering Chris Kyle, and it doesn't want to over-focus on the fact that veterans can do all these horrible, awful things when they come back. It wants the horrible, awful things they do to be like question the war or just feel bad. Yeah. But like it's not going to engage with this.
And also the fact that it brushes past his mental health treatment. Like, if you truly cared about the troops, you would have something about how like mental health support is great for the troops and how the guy who killed Chris Kyle like kind of fell through the cracks. But this movie won't do that. It also won't mention the issues of, you know, maybe gun control, something like that. Because I think I forget who said it. It was like, I don't know. I think maybe in the after the Parkland shooting, how like the argument of like the only thing can stop a good guy with a gun, a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Chris Kyle was the best guy with a gun, and he got killed by a gun. Right. Like there's something you can even reckon with that if you were a less conservative leaning movie, a more thoughtful movie. So we just not do that. We just then get to the credits of like, we see the real life motorcade towards his funeral in Arlington. This is the Cowboy Stadium, and like people on the highway, like, you know, with all the kinds of American flags, like, you know, thank you so much, Chris Kyle, for your service. He killed so many people. Thank you so much.
I would have loved. They need to re-release this movie with like a "We are Chris Kyle, we carry the flame." Like it really, honestly, if it had played that there, it would have fit the scene. Like that's how much they're doing in this moment. And it's a lot.
And so this movie was in production when Chris Kyle was still alive. How would this movie have ended if Chris Kyle lived?
I was thinking about that. I have to assume it was just going to end with him with his family. Yeah. You know, it wasn't going to end on an ambiguous note. It wasn't going to be critical of Chris Kyle. No. Maybe they would have had a little more of him being tormented at the end or something, and they didn't want to play with that. I don't know. But I will say, at least him dying gave them an ending to the movie. An ending that they didn't do very well, but it gave them like a thematically sound ending to the movie that they then squandered.
And like I can see why this movie was very successful, because it is very it's a simple movie. It simplifies this guy's entire life. It simplifies the entire war. It simplifies everything into a very digestible package, which like it's not challenging at all. No one's going to come out of this movie thinking like, oh wow, are we doing, or like, unless you already have a predisposition about like questioning these wars, this movie is not going to make you question what's going on. So this movie is going to be a very, you know, see them in the theater, be pretty entertained by like the production quality overall, and you're just going to walk away like, oh wow, like war's sad. Which
war's sad. It's so sad that these Arabs forced it on us. Basically, is like it's anti-war in the sense of they shouldn't have started it. That's the extent of anti-war that it is, you know. There's no criticism here, not at all. It's anti-war in the sense of war is unpleasant, but not and even then not all the time, because they think it's cool, because they have too much riding on thinking Chris Kyle is the coolest guy to ever live that they can't even really fully show war being hell.
And like this got great reviews when it came out. Like people were so like across the board. Like it made so many top 10 lists. It did well overseas too, which kind of blows my mind as well. Like, I thought this would be strictly an American phenomenon, but like this did very, very well overall. And people thought like it was like, because it briefly targets mental health, people thought like it actually had something to say. And it does not. Like it's just it's a very, very corny basic biopic that simplifies a very evil man's life into something very, like, it deifies him completely. And if this movie is trying to be about how Chris Kyle is like a good person, he's the best soldier that America's ever had, and the conflict of the movie is about how he's mentally drained by the war, but the guy's not drained by the war at all. If anything, he wishes he killed more people, not just Iraqis. He made up stories about killing Americans, killing his own people, because he's just a bloodthirsty bastard.
Yeah.
And it's a truly evil movie. I don't think there's any way to describe it. The nature of biopics in general is like, you're going to kind of simplify a story, someone's life into a typical 3-act structure. But the way this movie does it for something that's totally not real, and it's propaganda 100%. Like, it is just trying to justify being at war and talking about the guy who's like the best of the best, when it's not like Chris Kyle had like higher aspirations to being with his family or getting up in the military or like getting a command job. His only goal in life is to kill more people. And that's like, not even Hannibal Lecter is like that. Hannibal Lecter is just like, he'll kill people if they're rude around him. Like, you cannot tell a story about a serial killer who's like wants to keep on killing and killing and killing and make him a hero. And this guy is a guy who just loved to kill. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you want to know what kind of guy he would be now, there's a great example. Do you know Robert J. O'Neill?
Yeah, he's the guy who claimed he killed bin Laden, right?
One of the 3 guys who claims he killed bin Laden. His social media, just scroll it sometime.
It's
check it
so
out.
Funny.
For example, when influencer Harry Sasson said, "We're Gen Z voters and we proudly voted for Kamala Harris. Real men support Harris." Group of guys in a car. He replied, "You're not real men. You're boys. If there were no social media, you would be my concubines."
Mm-hmm.
And then when they said, "Did the guy who killed bin Laden just say he wanted to make us sex slaves?" He made a video doubling down saying, "Yep, you'd pretty much be my sex slaves because you're not real men, so it's not gay." That's what Chris Kyle would be doing if he was still alive right now.
Mm-hmm.
That type of, like, not just horrible, but also, "What's up, man?"
Yeah, he would be the craziest blue checkmark guy on Twitter. 100%.
Oh yeah, no, he would have spoken at the Republican National Convention for sure.
And
he would probably have, like, I will say 2020. I'm glad Chris Kyle wasn't around for 2020 because he would have like gone and killed some people. That's for sure. He would have been like super Rittenhouse. And there's like no doubt in my mind.
But the thing about all these other guys too, all these other Navy SEALs who like live stories have been on. We're wrapping up this whole episode, but like he, like you don't really hear about these other guys saying like, "Oh yeah, I killed all these people. Like I was carjacked and I killed 3 people at a gas station." Like you do with Chris Kyle. And Chris Kyle seems to be making up all these extra events where he's not really coming out as like, the heroic guy. He's just like, no, I'm making up this event where I'm fantasizing about killing more people. And it's not necessarily...
He doesn't want to be seen as a good soldier. He wants to be seen as a good killer, as one of the most effective killers of all time. That's what he wants to be known as.
Yeah. And it's so fucked up. And the fact that like this got praised across the board when it came up from the political spectrum. Like, it's a very conservative movie. But the fact that Michelle Obama was praising the movie, like, it's like, no, just because a movie says it's talking about mental health, very basically, does not mean it's about mental health at all. You have a movie like The Hurt Locker from years prior, which isn't entirely, it's more about masculinity than it's about mental health. But like, that movie is more complex than this one by a lot. And it's not like these movies where people are sent to fight these wars in the Middle East. They're like a dime a dozen, and they feel sad about like, fighting the war they not be in.
Yeah, shoot and cry movies,
Shoot and cry movies, yeah. Like, these movies are not rare. And people kind of thought about this as like, kind of like, this is a unique movie. This is a special movie. This movie is rising to the moment. But like, I don't know, was it just fatigue with the Obama administration? Like, kind of like the faux idea that like, this is a previous era that people were kind of like, hey, this is like a good throwback or something. I am baffled by the praise for it. But like, you never hear people say, "Oh, you gotta go back and watch American Sniper. It means so much." Even like
it's been memory hold for sure.
Even by conservatives, you never hear about like when conservatives talk about like, "Oh, the good old days of Hollywood." They talk about like the original Star Wars, where like they think the stormtroopers are the good guys. They never go back to like. I'm trying to think of other conservative movies
They'll share scenes. They like Kingdom of Heaven now is like the type of movies that they're posting. Like they're posting like Crusader stuff now, which Chris Kyle had a Crusader tattoo. So like I said, he was like he would be posting Pepe memes. Make no mistake. He would have been at January 6th. I can't say this. He would be selling supplements.
I'd be fascinated if Chris Kyle lived. What would so let's say this movie comes out, doesn't have the ending, but Chris Kyle is still around. It'd be kind of like a Hillbilly Elegy with J.D. Vance.
Chris Kyle would have been at the Oscars, which really would have been remarkable. If you think Will Smith at the Oscars caused problems, imagine what Chris Kyle would have done when he didn't win Best Picture.
Oh God, no, yeah. Like, I wonder who's presenting it that year.
Oh my God,
they've the under the crosshairs.
No, I mean, say what you will. I don't think it's good to just kill random people, but Chris Kyle would have killed again. So
One last
maybe that Marine knew something.
One last fact about this movie is like Sarah Palin was a big praised this movie a lot too, and was upset at a lot of like liberals for dunking on this movie's accuracy. But apparently they became friends because Chris Kyle, after he served, he started up his own like security company, and he was a bodyguard for Sarah Palin. That's so sick. At an event, at some movie premiere. I couldn't find out what movie it was, but they were buddies because of she hired him. Like, he was that kind of guy. But do we? Never mind. I won't say. Yeah. Do you think they fucked?
Yeah. Do you think they explored each other's bodies? Yeah. Just a question. Yeah, I don't know. His wife is so horrible, according to this movie.
So was Trigger one of the names of Sarah Palin's kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like maybe like he's like, hey, how's your son Trigger doing? Or is it a daughter Trigger? Because Trigger is such a name for a sniper's kid.
That would be so sick. That kid like grows up to become the legitimized bastard of Chris Kyle, like a Jon Snow character, like heir to the sniper rifle. Yeah. That's the sequel to American Wife, right? Yeah. Is the third one. It's like I'm legitimizing the bastard and training him in the ways of Kyle. Yeah. Handing him the rifle for like, you have to take down the Ayatollahs. I don't know, something like that. That's the Iran era version of this movie.
Oh my! Okay,
it's a whole franchise. I don't know why we're not being given millions of dollars to executive produce. We've got it in the bag.
If either of our podcasts start making like Joe Rogan money, we gotta pitch American Wife. We gotta get this off the ground.
I'm all in. Let's do it.
Do you have any final thoughts about American Sniper?
My final thoughts about this movie are, we can look at it, we can criticize it, we can laugh at it, but ultimately, this type of propaganda is just going to keep getting cycled around if the Iran war that we're currently in as we talk continues. I don't know. By the time this come out, maybe we have a ceasefire. Maybe it'll be World War III. I have no idea. But there's going to be movies about this. It's going to be the endless cycle, and when it comes out, you're not going to be allowed to laugh at it or criticize it. Then 10 years later, you're going to be allowed to laugh at it and criticize it. We got to stop letting these people tell us what to do, tell us what we're allowed to laugh at, tell us what we're allowed to like. We have to stop. When there's shit like this, like, we can, as a culture, we don't have to pretend that the shit that these people make is good. You know what I mean? Like, let's just not.
Have higher standards.
Let's have higher standards, and if something is bad, let's call it bad, and like stop letting people shame us into whatever. There was a lot of like, I look back at some of the reviews, and you can tell some of these movie reviewers know better. But they're like, well, this guy just died. We have to. No, like whatever. Let's be confident what we have to say about these films when they come out. We don't have to. And let's be honest. If a movie comes out that's a propaganda movie, like Top Gun Maverick, that whips ass, I'm gonna say it whips ass, and then talk about the bad politics.
Yeah.
Right, but that's my takeaway. The films like this are ridiculous, and they feel like they're of a previous era. But if we're going back into a whole other cycle of quote unquote war on terror, then I'm sure we're going to get a whole lot more American Snipers.
And they're going to be produced by the Daily Wire this time.
Oh God, yeah. First is tragedy, then is farce.
Yeah,
as they say.
Yeah, I don't have any more thoughts about this movie other than it's a really bad movie. You don't need to watch it. I'm going to post a scene of the fake baby. You just watch that over and over and over again. That's all that matters. But yeah, thank you, Jacob, so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Was happy to come on and finally get to talk about this nightmare.
Yeah. It was a hilarious pitch he sent me. Like, do you want to do a movie you fucking hate? I'm like, sure. Why not? And this is a lot of fun. And I think we cover some good ground when it comes to just this genre of film. And it is a genre of like, this specific war. It's kind of like how the Vietnam War is its own genre. This is its own genre too, and it's an icky genre. And just doing a biography movie that's so uncritical about a man that is so obviously evil, it stinks. It really, really stinks. And I think it's a stain on a lot of people's filmographies to make this movie. I think a lot less of some of these people for making this movie.
Definitely.
But yeah, so do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, for sure. I have a podcast, Workers Lit. It is the podcast about fighting for the narrative. We do 2 episodes a week. One episode we're doing about a piece of literature. The other episode we're going to do about a piece of contemporary politics. We're threading the two together, looking at the political angle of it around the books themselves and looking at the narrative angle of it around political events. These things, seeing how narratives shape our reality, seeing how we are influenced culturally, socially, what we're kind of being told to think, what the different strains of narrative battles are going on. We have a lot of fun with it. I have some great co-hosts, Aisha, Lenore, and Jen. Brian's been on the pod. We talked about LA Confidential, police, a grim police novel. It was a lot of fun. That was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Folks should go check that out. It's a great episode. We'll talk about politics. We'll talk about books. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. We have a great time. If there's something you're interested in, we probably have chatted about it in some form or fashion at some point. So go over and check out Workers Lit. And the last thing I'll say is I am a novelist. I do have a recent book that came out. They called her Rebel, a fantasy novel about people power, late stage capitalism, and queer love. And if folks, that sounds interesting to you, go order They Called Her Rebel so I can write more books. And then maybe it'll get turned into a movie and Clint Eastwood will direct it. Who knows? I would love to see
Clint do it. Oh yeah,
I'd love Clint Eastwood's take on a queer fantasy novel. I would be delighted.
Oh my god, yeah.
I will give up all my financial share in the movie just so I can see what what bro is gonna cook.
His Fall to Juror number 2, his final film, is gonna be short.
I'm begging you, Clint. Please have with lesbians and orcs in it. I'm sure he'd handle it so well. So sick. Yeah. But so I super appreciate you having me. Would love to collaborate again at some point. This has been an absolute blast.
I'll come on your show for American Wife.
Honestly,
I don't want to read that book.
Don't threaten me with a good time. I'm a freak. I'm a freak, Brian.
Yeah.
I'll read it.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Letterboxd at bwishart. You can also follow MoviePod on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. I always forget to plug this, but I have a mailbag as well. So please send your emails at moviepodmailbag@gmail.com. Any stories you have about movies, any thoughts about movies in general, or any questions for me. And I'll do an episode on this.
Executive producers willing to donate significant money to our film projects that we have today.
The American Wife's, we need a Game of Thrones level budget for American Wife.
We do.
So we need an 8-season thing. We'll have some dragons there at some point. People love dragons, so yeah,
naturally. I mean, that's the season where China gets involved. China has dragons in this world. Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, because Game of Thrones is always the Western depiction of dragons. We need this would be our take on it too. Is the Eastern tradition of dragons, that kind of thing.
I will be talking to the guys in China who made Wolf Warrior. There will be a crossover film with American Wife versus Wolf Warrior.
Oh yeah.
Can you see the vision? We'll make 2 endings. One will release in China. One will release in the United States. There we go. Everyone's happy.
And we'll have nothing but fake babies. Fake plastic babies. Yeah, no, fuck real babies.
To the point that you will think real babies look unrealistic.
Yeah. So MoviePod continues next week. I'll be having Dalton Pike back on the show. We'll be doing the MoviePod Teen Choice Awards, which will be Teen Choice Awards are defunct, so I'm stealing the name. So we'll be talking about the just accolades for 2025 in cinema. So that'll be a bonus episode coming out. But then the following week, I'm going to be joined back by Maeve, who's coming back on the show. And we'll be discussing Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch. Have you seen that one, Jacob?
I've not, but I've seen enough footage of it that I'll just listen to your take on it. I think I'm willing just to listen to you talk about it from what I know of the film.
She's a defender. I'm a hater. But
I'm excited.
The Zack Snyder fandom is something I find fascinating. And I think the Reclaim take on that is that the Zack Snyder fans have really, really taken hold of his whole filmography and given himself a big cult status. Even if critics have not really come back to his movies, his movies have a huge demand, and there's always a demand for him to release his own director's cut, including a alleged Sucker Punch director's cut that's on a hard drive. He's going to get the rights to release it. And he keeps threatening director's cuts upon the world to us. So, so I am excited for Sucker Punch next week.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for listening. And until next week, take care.